This is AC Starlord, aka Awesome. Welcome back to my channel. And we see that this is about Peacemaker. It's behind me. I even got a jersey that looked just like this uniform. It even has the little metal things on the shoulder. Only if they hadn't, only if they had like, a helmet. But Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 1 was fantastic. John Cena is back as Chris and back as Peacemaker. Fantastic. He does a fantastic job playing this character. Very fantastic. I love the simple fact that he is Peacemaker once again. He's also apparently a really good wrestler. So if he keeps doing that, keeps doing that. This first episode was fantastic, but pretty wild. I mean, the first half was he's trying to join the Justice League or the Justice Gang with the Green Lantern and Hot Girl. Now, if you're asking, oh, James Gunn said this is going to be set in the new MCU. So what they did was they show a recap of what happened at the end of the first season. But instead of having Superman, Aquaman, The Flash, Wonder Woman being there from the DCEU, they switched the ending with Superman still being part of it. Superman, the corn sweat Superman, obviously. Supergirl, apparently. Supergirl is part of the Justice Gang. We didn't know that, and the Supergirl movie hasn't even come out yet, so we didn't know that until we saw Peacemaker here. Um, we have Mr. Fantastic, not Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Terrific. My bad, Mr. Fair Play. You also have Hot Girl and Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, being in there, and he said, "You guys, you showed up late. You guys are dicks." And he said, Then they gave the line to Green Lantern. Oh, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern. He said that I threw up on him, and then that's the exact same line, kinda. What they kind not exactly a line, but different. Like, oh, he says I talked to fish or whatever. They just changed it up for the MCU to DC, and the DC. I mean the not the MC, I mean the DCU to DCU. Just switched the Justice League players or the Justice Gang. And then it goes from there, and then it goes from him trying to be a part of the Justice League or Justice Gang, um, where Max Lord is in charge of it, which is also James Gunn's brother. So, and then they're talking about how like he looks weird, he looks stupid, and all that stuff like that. And then White Rabbit was before him. White Rabbit was also a cool DC character to see in this. Um, and then after that, he goes checks on Hargrave. I think on Hargrave or Hargrave or somewhere, whatever that girl he was with. And last season they had some type of relation. They had some type of relationship and or some type of thing going on. They talked about it. They went to they had separate interviews. Their interviews didn't go well. Um, the black girl that was in Minecraft, she was in there. And I'm taking Chris to his interview. Well, now Chris is living in his dad's house. And then he also knows that there's that room with all his gear and portals. Then we see him jump into another Earth, through a dimensional portal, through a dimensional portal, and an alternate world where he and his brother and his dad are still alive. That's where we primarily effectively stay in there. Vigilante's still working in a restaurant as also still being Vigilante. I don't know if we're going to see too much of him. The the fat white guy's still working for August. The black girl was in Minecraft, revealed all the secrets. So she doesn't have a job either. And then Rick Flag Sr. is still trying to look for Peacemaker and does Code Red with Argus, trying to find him. And then there's one scene, well, I will talk about on here, but it doesn't necessarily need to be on here. Like he gets really upset and he gets smokes weed and a little thing, and then he gets high and brings a whole bunch of people over, and they have like a weird sex party thing. That doesn't need to be added into the show. I know James Gunn, this is an adult show and it's an adult like superhero, but James Gunn, you don't need to add that in there. They have that in there. I'm sorry. I don't believe that you need to have that in there. But everything else in this episode where then after that he goes in the alternate world and then he stays in the alternate world too long because he knows his dad's still alive. His brother's alive that was dead in the first season. He's just, and his dad rubs his ear and says, I love you. And he never had that. He cried. And then the alternate version of himself shows up and they go through out the portal to that little room that has all his gear in, and he kills his alternate or self. So that means that he didn't mean to, but now when we saw the little clip at the very end of the episode, he has to fill in the shoes of being that peacemakers. I mean, being the peacemaker for that world as well. So there's two worlds to be peacemaker in, and it makes it much more interesting towards the end of the movie. I mean, not towards the end of the movie, and towards the end of the show. And that's pretty much the show, pretty much till the next episode. But this has been a very good episode, except that one part where I said that it doesn't need to be, none of that stuff needs to be added. But the rest of the stuff, catching up from the DCEU, from the DCU, turned into the DCU, um, catching up with Peacemaker since then, the first season. That one scene I'm not going to mention, everything else in between. That was a pretty good story arc for where Peacemaker's at. And I think it's going to be a good show. I think the rest of the episodes are going to be good. The rest of the season's going to be good. But that's all I got to say. You don't necessarily add some unnecessary sex stuff in here because you really don't have to. You can make this still a show, adult show, where him smoking weed or taking cocaine and him getting high and him being an adult, well, doing those. Now every adult doesn't, but like an action show like this that does that kind of thing where he's not like a normal superhero like Batman and Superman and all that stuff that wouldn't do drugs, that wouldn't waste their body on that when they're upset. They would either just fight crime or find a way to work their way through their problems. But since this is adult, more of an adult like character, of course he's going to do that stuff, but you don't have to add the extra stuff. I can go with the idea of him being just upset, getting high, and do something stupid or doing something different than just doing that, but everything else was great. It doesn't need to be added. That stuff, other stuff doesn't need to be added in there, but everything else was great. This is going to be an epic season, and the fact that he said, "Oh," in the clip, and there's an ending credit scene where they were just talking about third planet to Mars, the band that was supposed to play off to being funny was funny, but that's all that was. But the clip that it showed at the end, he's like, in this world, I'm in a relationship with the blonde girl in there. His dad's alive, his brother's alive. They all find crime together, and it's just, it's a cool world, he said, and he doesn't want to leave it. So that's where I think it's going to be like that. And Rick Flag still trying to find him and stuff like that. So it's going to be kind of a cool show to watch here. And this has only been the first episode, so we can't wait to the second episode. I can't wait and see if there's anything else that's unnecessary to be in here that I need to talk about. I don't need to talk about, but really don't necessarily need to have all that stuff in there. So, but anyways, it's been a good episode of Peacemaker. Hopefully, that's more out there, and there is. And the season looks pretty good so far. Besides the stuff I said, doesn't need to be in it, but everything else in between is pretty good. So that's been the first episode review of Peacemaker. So if you like this video, put a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and deuces.